What's up, everybody? This is Trigger. Today I'm making a really quick video to go with my article about checking to induce a bluff. It comes down to whenever you get to a river with an opponent and they are likely to have a draw, but if you would bet into them, they would just fold their draw. There's no way to get an extra bet of value from them. So the best way to get value in those situations is to check to your opponent, let them bluff at the pot, and then you call to pick off that extra bet. And I'm going to show you 4 quick examples of this. The first 2, unfortunately, are kind of low quality because I grabbed them from one of my earlier videos that I just happened to know they were there. But the second 2 are of high quality. But I'll be able to talk you through this. So here we have pocket 8s. There's an early raise, a caller on the button, and we just go ahead and overcall with our 8s. There's not a ton of reason to squeeze here. So the flop is 3 clubs. We end up making a bet on this turn into our opponents, and there's a lot of draws in this situation. Of course, any sort of like naked ace of clubs, 4-5, something like an ace of clubs 5, ace of clubs 4, a lot of different draws in this situation. Now the jack on the river means that we don't have top pair anymore, but the best way to get value isn't to bet because he's not likely to call with something like a 7 here. The best way to get value from those like ace of club type hands is to check to them, let them bet into us, and then pick off their bluff. So here he had just a naked 8 of clubs, which I'm not really sure what he was doing in the hand with, but as I showed, if we would bet into him, he was just going to fold his hand. There was no way for us to get value by betting. Sometimes the best way to get I always talk about value betting, and you should bet with good hands, but sometimes that's not the instance. Like I said, when you get to a river with an opponent, sometimes you need to check to them to get value. So in this situation, I actually limped in the small blind once there were 3 other limpers. I don't generally recommend that, to be honest. I probably should have just folded the extra $1. But hey, who can blame me? I was getting 9-1 on my money. We end up flopping gold. We bet large on the flop because we have 2 pair, but we want to scare away all of the other, like, we don't want a ton of people going to the turn with us, or they are likely to hit but we want like one fish to call with his like 2 clubs, or his 5-6, or his ace deuce, or his ace 5. So we bet large on the flop, we get a caller. We bet large on this turn, and we get a caller. Now the river comes and it's another high card, and this means we have bottom 2 pair. But the thing is, there's so many draws in this guy's in his range right now. Like I said, ace deuce, ace 5, 5-6, 6-7, any 2 clubs at all. You know, any club that has an ace in it, or any hand that has an ace of clubs in it with like a deuce or a 5. So here he did have an ace deuce. There was no way we were going to get him to call a bet on the river. So we check, he calls, and we take it down. Here it's folded to us in the small blind. We make a raise with 10s. We get a call from the big blind. We get a nice low flop, but at the same time there's going to be a lot of draws. Any sort of ace, a lot of fishy players will call with any ace. They're going to have a gut shot, and they like to call here because then they're having a gut shot and an overcard. Plus any 2 clubs, stuff like 6-7s, 4-5, anything like that. So we bet for value on the flop, we bet for value on the turn. The river comes, it's sort of bad for us because the 5s complete, but besides that, the aces don't complete and the club draws don't complete. So I don't think there's enough hands in his range that would call 3 streets of value for like value, that they just think they're the best hand 3 streets. So we're going to bet twice, and then when we think that there's a lot of draws in his range, we check on the river to him. So here, I'm a little nervous that he has a 5, so I kind of reload before I make this call. But because I check to induce this bluff, I have to make this call. There's so many bluffs that could be in his range here. So we're going to check. He shows us a random float. That's another thing. You're going to pick off a lot of random floats. People try to float a lot. A float is when you call on the flop, looking to bet on the turn and steal it. And sometimes you'll do a double float. You call on the flop, call on the turn, just knowing that their range doesn't really hit that flop or turn, looking to steal the pot later. And the best way to get value from those hands, from floats, you have to pick off the bluffs on the river. So here we raise up 9s pre-flop when they limp, and we get a nice low flop. We bet the flop in the turn. The turn is nice for us. 4-5 is going to want to call. 8-9 probably still calls. Any 2 diamonds probably call. Something like on the flop, something like ace of diamonds, Jack 10 of diamonds, anything like ace X of diamonds would like to call. Once he calls the turn, I'm thinking he probably has a straight draw. Some of the straight draws do come in with a 3, meaning a 5 is going to beat us, but 8, 9 doesn't complete, and as well as the diamonds don't complete. So I think this is a good opportunity to check and call. When he bets 25 here, instead of betting large, I actually think he's value betting me. I really think he has a 5 here, but there's not a lot of ways for me to get away from my hand once I make that check. Our opponent shows us another float. Hey, sometimes it just happens. I really expected him to have diamonds or like an 8-9 type of hand here, but we can always pick off the random floats from our opponent. They realize when they get themselves in this situation on the river, there's no way that they can win by checking behind. So you force them to bet on the river when you know you were going to bet yourself. If you know you're going to bet yourself and your opponent is likely going to fold, you should just check to them, let them bet, and then you can call. That's the best way to get value in a lot of situations. So I hope you guys liked this quick video, and I will see you next time.